Hey everyone, Matt from Workshop Tinkerers here. I wanted to go over a few parts, pieces, upgrades, and stuff just to get some basics. I'm going to be doing some experiments with the 101 Hero, see what can be replaced, what can be upgraded, and about what pricing. I'm using parts that I'm going to be using for my newest 3D printer, which is going to be a 101, or not a 101 clone, a RepRap Wilson 2 with some experimental parts in it, basically. It won't be an official Wilson 2, but it'll be darn close. That way I don't have to ever take my actual official Wilson 2 out of production and do experiments like a Bowden setup. And I'll explain what a Bowden is. So, what you see ahead before you is some components. I've been asked a number of times, the 101 Hero has an all-in-one inclusive blah 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 board. What would I suggest as a replacement? Well, that would be this board that sits on top of this here. This is a Arduino Mega 2560. This one is made by Osu instead of an official one. I do have an official one. It's upstairs. I'm not grabbing it right now. Sorry. So this is a Arduino board that this sits on top of as a hat. Is, if you see, you take all this, sits on top. And then this is your, basically the control board for everything pretty much for a 3D printer. It can do, this one is a ramps 1.4, it can do 3 axes, either 101 Hero style uprights or XYZ, so X, Y, Z, up and down, and then up to 2 extruders. So you can do a dual Bowden setup. If you get into some of the smoothie boards and such, yeah, that's barely touching it, but smoothie boards are a bit more advanced. I have this because, one, I'm building another Wilson 2, which uses a board called a Pika, which is an upgraded, basically, replacement for one of this, designed by the person who built the design for the Wilson 2. It's a bit better, but I also kickstarted a drop-in replacement for this, so I want to get a printer working with just the rep ramp, with just the standard ramps. I don't remember what it stands for. Sorry about that. I also want to talk to you, why do you want to do this? Well, say you want to take this 101 Hero and do Microstepping. So you take one of these, the standard little itty bitty steppers. This is a unidirectional stepper just like they have in the 101 Hero. Fortunately, this is a 164 stepping. I couldn't find a 132, which is what the uprights in the 101 Hero has. The extruder, on the other hand, has a 164. What does that mean? Every time they switch the internal on-off, it spins once internally, but this only spins 1/64th, 1/32. A true stepper motor has, like this one, this is a NEMA 14 with 200 steps. Yeah, NEMA 14 with 200 steps. It has 200 positions it wants to lock into. It only has 4 wires. You can convert one of these to bipolar, which is what all these with 4 wires are. And I'll show you right here, I did it to this one just as an experiment. If you pull off this blue cover, you pry down on this top here, pop it off, you cut the red wire, and then you scratch out that trace there between the 2 pads where the red is in the dead middle. This still works, by the way. It still is a functional motor. Not with that, because that one, it makes it go forward, forward, back, even when I'm going all the same direction. It's not quite right. I will be doing experiments with the ramps board and see how it behaves. First, I'll set it up with a bunch of NEMA 17s, which are the standard ones, and they have ends on it, unlike this thing, which has no ends. And I don't have those ends yet. They're in the mail. And make sure they all function as desired. And if you can do that, the bipolar, you can do microstepping, which is it holds it between steps. It's not 100% accurate, but if you're going fast anyways, it's just a little bit more precision. Just a tiny bit more to get a little bit better look. These have the potential of doing it. I have to see. Supposedly they can. From my research, I haven't actually tried. I will try. See what I can do. Now, to do all these kind of things, you need the Arduino, the Mega. I suggest a screen because this way you don't have to have a computer hooked up all the time. You can if you want, but you can do selections right on the screen. The screen has the SD card built in. Selector, so you can see temperatures and if it's working and all that kind of stuff. Easy feed. You'll need all that, and then you'll need a power supply. This is a 12 volt, I want to say 300 watt power supply. There it is. Now 30 amp, 12 volt, 360 watt power supply, give or take. You'll need this to drive the ramps and all the other stuff for it if you want to upgrade the motors in this. So I bought this NEMA 14. This is the first one that showed up. The other one is a round style, to see how well it would fit in place. The answer, instead of this, the answer is horribly. It would take major modifications to this machine to allow it to fit in the same spot. Now you can always drill new holes and mount it in a different position, like on the outside, and get it to go in the same spot in the center. Once you start doing that, you've destroyed the original Hero. You can't put it back to stock, and you still don't guarantee to have a working printer. It's a lot uglier. Might as well make your own uprights. Build your own, something proper. So those are basics. Parts that I recommend people start off with, because this runs Marlin. It's RepRap Marlin software. And it's pretty easy to get into. Trust me, I'm a beginner. I've never done this before. I've taken other people's and modified it, but this is going to be a from scratch for me. I have good faith that it indeed will work. Yay, fun. Ow. That hurts pretty bad when you do that. Oh. Okay, I'll put that on later. One of the things I said I was going to explain was what I mean by Bowden. You've probably heard me before recommend a Bowden tube for the top of the 101 Hero. That's this tube here that runs down into the, can you see that? Into the hot end. And in this case it has nothing on the end. It's just zip tied to the end here. That is to reduce drag, to reduce spool drag on the and great, I already messed it up. I just dropped it. Fantastic. Spool drag on the print to try to smooth it out, because every time it jerk and have to unroll, every time the spool got a little tight, it'd jerk and I could see it in the print. That tube fixes it, but it's meant to go into something like this. This is just a cheapo off of Amazon because I was too lazy to buy the parts to print one and do it myself. What this does is you have filament in through a short chunk of tubing or a long chunk, it doesn't matter. It just goes to the roll and guides the filament. And it goes out, has a chunk of this tubing that's press fit into here and goes to another press fit. I have E3D parts that I use, and they have them built into those print heads, where the Bowden tubing goes straight in. This will allow you to move this big old motor off the print head, or in the case of the 101 Hero, 80B little motor. Can you see that? There. 80B little motor. My goal is going to be take my 164, which these are $13 for 5 of them. Why not? Okay. Basically what I'm going to do is, for everyone else, I'm not going to leave it like this. I have other plans for this ramps board, but while I have it, before I get the other printer done, as I'm still waiting on parts that might take a month from China, is I will see if I can transform 3 of my 164 step. Sorry, it's what I have. If I could get 132, or once I get 132, I might try them. I might just keep them as spares. Hook it up to my ramps board. Make sure that they'll move around properly in the correct directions, all that kind of fun stuff. And then replace the hot end with a proper E3D hot end. Make a mount that fits onto the structural support here. The structural support. And then have my motor sitting probably similar to that. Sitting off to the side here. The tubing running to it. Actually, it might be like that. Probably doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter where it's mounted right now. I'll figure that out later. And see if I can further improve print quality by reducing the head, vastly increasing the precision of the extrusions, and seeing if I can introduce microstepping into these steppers. The only other problem with these is because they're internally geared, there is backlash, which means you can't probably see it, but you can see how I pull it in and out. But I can also twist it ever so slightly. Actually, look at the flag. That isn't me disforming the flag, that's it moving a couple degrees. Unfortunately, or fortunately, you can tune that in Marlin to try to reduce that. I'll see what I can do. As I said, I haven't done it from scratch before. This is a learning process for me. I'm sorry. But I'll see what I can do about modifying all that kind of stuff. If I can get this running on modified motors and such, I will put out my configuration on probably 101 user. Thank you guys, since you were why I have most of my viewers and gals. I'm not going to be sexist, sorry about that. And get it working, see if I can. And then once I do that, I'm going to rip it all back, put it back to original, so I can still kind of get somewhat useful prints. If I really like the boat, and I might, well, I can't leave it. Unfortunately, this board is too restrictive. I can't put, it's an all or nothing. So the Bowden will go back to my main printer, which is actually where it's probably going to go for a little bit, just as an experiment. Oh, I really want to know how well this thing works, because I don't like this. Yeah. Anyways, some basic parts, all that kind of stuff. So expect more little updates as I get 3 of these converted over and hooked up and all that kind of fun stuff. Anyways, thanks everyone so much for watching. Keep tinkering.